The clock is ticking. What is the urgency for Republicans to get their act together before the Sunday talk shows?
Well, hopefully they can execute better than Dr. Fauci throwing the baseball last night. But I think from a broader standpoint, they have to get this done within the next, they want to get this done by next Friday. But in terms of where the conversation is with Democrats, there likely will be some more political theater. And I keep making this comparison, but I think it bears repeating here. This is what Washington does best. Anytime there's a government shutdown, they go right up to the middle and right up to the deadline, and then they kick the can down the road. That could be the situation right now. Before the August recess, there actually doesn't seem to be much urgency to get it done right around then. They could extend and work into recess, and that's something that I've heard from lower-level staffers who, quite frankly, are already making plans and adjusting plans in preparation that might have to happen.
Kevin, I'll borrow your words. The President of the United States standing there, facing the camera alone, trying to take back control. Is this changing the direction of travel? Because the polls out in the last 24 hours, this from Fox, Biden topping the president in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Minnesota. This from Quinnipiac. In Florida, the president, 38%. Joe Biden, 51%. Can you round out the week for us, Kevin? Is it making a difference?
You know, it's resetting the palette. It's re-cleaning the palette in the sense that I spoke with a senior Republican yesterday, Jonathan, strategist, who advises the White House, who advises the re-election campaign and has for several years. And what this source told me was whether it's the president now embracing the use of masks or yesterday announcing that they will have a more pared down convention in Florida, that is all an example of the president trying to reset from what's been a very turbulent political past few months for his administration. But whether or not it's going to have a long-term effect, we just don't know. But this is a resetting this week for President Trump.
When it's a reset for President Trump, does that mean that there's going to be more unity or less unity among Republicans as they try to come up with some agreement and as they try to get reelected themselves?
You know, I think, Lisa, that from the standpoint of unity, Republicans are just as disunified as Democrats, to be quite frank with you, on economic issues. And while the president yesterday backing off in the short term from the payroll tax cut, he also essentially is embracing much more government spending than the base than the conservative ideological economic base of his party would like to see. So they have to iron this out. But as states have had to re-shut down and as states have had to really look at the data of an influx of cases, they've come to the realization, including conservative states, that more economic stimulus is not just needed, it was needed yesterday.
Kevin, in Ambassador Bolden's book, I think he referred to Secretary Mnuchin as a panda hugger. I don't think he would call Secretary Pompeo a panda hugger. This week, he has come out swinging against the Chinese Communist Party. What does CHENGDU mean to this administration? Do they ignore it, go into the weekend and pretend this week never happened?
No. Look, this was a largely expected move for Xi Jinping to close the U.S. consulate in CHENGDU. It could have been more significant should they have closed the consulate in Hong Kong. But from a back-and-forth perspective, what happened with the U.S. deciding to close the consulate of China's in Houston, this was a back-and-forth. Yesterday, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo delivering, as you described, Jonathan, a blistering critique of U.S.-China relations over the last 50 years at President Nixon's presidential library. Remember that historic trip that President Nixon took in 1972, trying to open China to the world, trying to suggest that engaging with China would allow them to move in a more democratic, lowercase d there, democratic way of economic thinking and cultural thinking. Secretary Pompeo yesterday continuing with his tour, as he has for more than a year, quite frankly, in saying that has been a colossal failure and that a new type of dealing with China is needed.